Big might be beautiful, but small is spectacular. Find out for yourself today on Simply Quilt. Anderson, and welcome to Simply Quilt. With all the quilting I've done, I'm afraid to admit that I've met my match with small-scale quilts. It's hard to get that perfect little quarter-inch, but I'm working on it. Miniature quilts, however, are popular attractions at the quilt festivals around the country. Let's take a look at a collection from the recent Vermont Quilt Festival. This year, the Vermont Quilt Festival had one of the finest gatherings of quilts ever seen. Quilts of every style and description were present, from humorous to elaborate and everything in between. And just look at these beautiful pieces. And would you believe that most of these are no bigger than the size of a placemat?
This is the first time we've had miniature quilts in the festival since 1982. When we expanded the show this year and talked about what we were going to do with the contest, we decided to add a category for miniatures because there have been a lot of requests for miniatures. There's a lot of interest in them. And by our definition, a miniature quilt is anything which is smaller than 24 inches square. Because the pieces in a miniature quilt are so much smaller than a large quilt, the accuracy that's required probably is much greater. If we're talking about pieces that may not be any more than a quarter or even an eighth of an inch on a side, the precision that's involved in that really is, I mean, it needs the first caliber of precision to do that. This is an exceptional piece of applique. And it is a very old 19th century pattern called Whig rose, which in some places, depending on the political affiliation, was a Democrat rose. But a lot of work going around those little rosettes, around those leaves, around the birds and the flower pots. But it is a very classic 19th century quilt design reduced to miniature, and it is, as you see, a blue ribbon winner. This one is interesting because in the center of each block is a little nautical motif, a little charm, a scallop, a starfish, a fish, an anchor, a sand dollar, and a seahorse. This is a crazy quilt, and it is a very, very popular pattern from the 1870s all the way through the present time. We see hundreds and hundreds of crazy quilts, but this is a nice example of a crazy quilt in miniature. And a crazy quilt was a way for the maker to show off all of her fanciest needlework techniques. There's embroidery, there's beading, there is feather stitching. There are all kinds of things that make this instantly recognizable as a crazy quilt. This quilt was made by a woman in Massachusetts. It is a design which she says she took from an antique cash register, the center design, apparently. And she's added her own touches here. There is a hummingbird, which is exquisitely executed. The scallops, the fleur-de-lis, it is layer upon layer of applique. It is a very, very fine, very beautifully executed piece of work. And this is an exceptional merit winner, which means that it had 98 points or more out of a possible 100. So this will be the best of the miniature category this year.
So whether a quilt is king size or pint size, it's just as beautiful. Weren't those wonderful? I guess it's time to learn. Coming up next, we'll understand the secrets behind creating small-scale quilts. Stay with us.
HGTV takes you into the homes of the courageous men who helped to shape our nation. Homes of our heritage, American heroes. Sunday night at 9 on HGTV.
Call Roto-Rooter, that's the name, and away go troubles down the drain. Roto-Rooter.
I like to look big. I like big surprises, big dreams,
The innovative GE Spectra is big.
big healthy babies.
It's so big it holds a turkey, 2 casseroles, and 3 loaves of bread.
I like to entertain, big time.
Or 288 hors d'oeuvres, or 12 perfect pies.
I love having a whole house full of people.
GE Spectra, the biggest, most accurate oven in America. It cooks big inside and out.
Most of all, I like the big smiles that I get when I cook big.
Cook big with the incredible GE Spectra.
Big.
Yesterday, if you saw a bathroom style you liked,
Nope.
well, good luck finding it at your typical home improvement store. But today, there's Lowe's, where upgrading your bathroom has never been more fashionable. Choose from Delta, Kohler, Moen, Jacuzzi, American Standard, and hundreds of other great brands. The latest styles at a guaranteed low price. Lowe's, improving home improvement.
Smile, you got French's. Smile, you got French's. Smile, you got fun. Smile, you got fun.
Nothing spreads more smiles than French's Classic Yellow, Hearty Deli, Homestyle Dijon, and our latest Honey Mustard.
Smile, you got French's.
Friday, it's a night of dreams and fantasies on HGTV. At 10, Fantasy Open House tours a $5 million oceanfront cottage on Martha's Vineyard. Then at 10:30, Dream Drives heads to Detroit's Lakeshore Road, where stunning waterfront mansions showcase the wealth of America's early auto industry. Your night of dreams and fantasies begins with Fantasy Open House, followed by Dream Drives. Friday night at 10 on HGTV.
Welcome back. Today we're going to learn techniques especially tailored for small-scale quilt making. And here to help us is the author of Small-Scale Quilt Making, Sally Collins. Sally, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Alex. It's very nice to be here.
Now, we go back kind of a long ways, don't we?
Pretty far, yeah.
Pretty far. We have stories,
exactly.
but we won't tell them.
Exactly, exactly.
How long have you been quilt making?
I probably started quilt making in 1978 and then turned to small-scale quilts probably in 85 when I had enough bed quilts, but the passion and desire to make quilting didn't stop. So I just make them a little bit smaller.
Got to touch that fabric.
Yes,
Oh,
always.
buy and touch
Always.
that fabric. What do you mean by small-scale quilt making?
Well, I describe it really is that when I make quilts, I make them from a full-scale perspective, and then I simply translate that image to a smaller scale that I'm comfortable with. And then that small quilt needs to maintain and reflect all the detail and integrity of the full-scale image.
So you think big and then you bring it down.
Exactly, absolutely.
Now, you don't like the word miniature in regards to your work, correct?
Well, the reason for that is because I don't work in a specific 1-inch to 1-foot scale that I think true miniaturists do. I simply work in a scale that I'm comfortable with and that I still can be challenged creatively and technically.
Okay, so we are not doing miniatures, we're doing small scale, which is quite different than large scale, but start with that big thought, right?
Yes.
Okay, well, how do you determine your block size?
Well, grid dimension really determines the block size, and
All right.
most patchwork is based on a grid dimension of equal divisions across and down. And so this here is a churn dash.
Which we're looking at on the screen.
Yes, that would be the churn dash. But you would have different blocks that have different grids on them.
Okay, so we started with the churn dash, but let's go back to this one here. It's actually a 9 patch, correct?
Yes, which means you have 3 equal divisions across and down.
Okay.
This would be the 4, This is a 5-patch, and this is a 9-patch with a 36 square grid.
Now, if you're doing a 9-patch or you're doing a 36 square grid, does that determine the size of the block that you're going to make, or
Yes.
do you do them all the same size?
You could determine the grid dimension is determined in 2 different ways. One way would be to decide what block you want to make, and you would decide the block size. So, for instance, if you wanted to make a 1.5-inch churn dash, you would divide the 3 equal divisions into 1.5, and that would give you your grid dimension.
And you would want to probably keep it in 8-inch increments, wouldn't you? Or do you ever work in 16 inches?
No, 1/8 inch or 1/4 inch. But
Okay.
another way you can do that is I often don't care how large my block is. I want to work in a grid dimension that's comfortable. So I then take the amount of grids across the block and divide it by a grid that's comfortable for me, for instance 1/2 inch, and that tells me my block
The way
size.
to go. Let's talk about fabric. You have a lot to say about fabric, and I think we should start with the value, don't you think?
Yes.
Okay.
Value is important in all quilt making, but especially true in small scale quilt making. And value is really the amount of lightness or darkness in a color.
Right.
And value is what creates design. So small scale quilt making really benefits from having a lot of different values within one color.
This is a wonderful example down here, because you can not have excellent value and then your work's not going to
So
show.
for instance, this works in this 6-inch block, but when you take these exact same fabrics and try to make a 1.5-inch block, it really doesn't work. So down here is what I did to intensify the contrast, so because contrast is what defines design.
So you really want to work like with light, and dark, dark.
Exaggerated contrast,
Okay,
absolutely.
let's quickly take a look at some of the fabric that you've brought here. You've made this really neato little tool. Tell us about that.
Well, sometimes I carry this with me because you need to be able to look at fabric and know if it's cut up very small, how it reads or how it's going to work. And so I might take that and run it across bolts of fabric before I make my choices when I buy.
Now, these are all pretty good choices that we have here, correct?
Yes, these would work, I believe, in small scale quilts.
Okay, now
yes.
let's take a look at these and talk about the possible problems with these.
These would have some questions. These dots are wonderful, but oftentimes you can get a very obscure message when you see them cut this way. So you need a little bigger space. Same thing with this floral.
That's
You
true.
see, you get almost blank pieces of fabric if you were to cut this up. In this last one, I use this to do what I call custom cutting, where you might be able to custom cut a motif within that space.
You call that fussy cutting?
I call it custom cutting.
Custom cutting. Thanks for the information on fabric. I know this will really help.
You're very welcome.
Next, Sally will show us how to make a block that's guaranteed to turn heads. The churn dash block. Stay with us.
Look closely. Can you tell the difference between these dog medications? They're the same prescription and the same brand name, but these medications cost 40% less. I never realized how expensive my pet's medications really are, but now I can save money and have them delivered right to my home. That's the PetMed Express difference. Great savings and great service. My dog, like most dogs, uses heartworm and flea medications. I wouldn't trust her health to just anyone. I call PetMed Express Pharmacy and get Brandy's medications and pet supplies delivered to me the very next day. It's terrific.
Call now for a free special offer from PetMed Express and start saving on HeartGuard, Program, Advantage, Top Spot, and all other pet medications.
I trust Brandy to PetMed Express Pharmacy. Look closely and you'll see one very satisfied customer.
PetMed Express, savings and convenience on all your pet medications. Call for your free special offer today.
In nature, all waste is recycled, and it's this process that led to the development of Envirolet, the world's finest composting toilet systems. Using patented automatic aeration, Envirolet efficiently reduces and recycles waste into garden soil. Simple to use, totally sanitary, and odor-free, Envirolet composting toilet systems offer you a better economical and environmental solution. Envirolet is your year-round answer for cottage or home and many other applications. Available in waterless and low-water models, and your choice of non-electric 12-volt battery or energy-efficient 110-volt electric. Call for your free video and information kit on our complete Envirolet line. Waterless self-contained, waterless remote, and low-water remote systems. Envirolet meets or exceeds product and performance standards and is backed by a lifetime warranty and toll-free nationwide customer support. Call for your free video and information kit and discover Envirolet composting toilet systems today.
Hear what kids are saying about the #1 name for teaching children to read. Hooked on Phonics.
I felt so proud of myself because I had read a 24-chapter book. I thought, wow, that Hooked on Phonics really worked.
Hooked on Phonics guarantees you'll see an improvement in your child's reading in 4 weeks or your money back. Call now and you'll also receive the World Book Encyclopedia on CD-ROM. Call 1-800-ABCDEFG to order Hooked on Phonics.
We're back with the author of Small Scale Quilt Making, Sally Collins. We've learned 2 different ways to determine the size and appropriate fabric for small scale quilts. Now let's take a look at the actual block that we're going to make. It is the churn dash.
Yes.
And you chose to teach us that today because?
It's one of an easy block to construct, and the way that I'm going to show you how to do it, it's very safe if you were new to small scale work.
So even I can do it, Sally?
Yes, Alex, even you can do it. No problem
No
at all.
problem.
Absolutely
That's a big
none.
promise here. I love this quilt that you've brought.
Thank you.
It has a larger churn dash in the middle and smaller ones on the outside.
Yes.
Are we making the smaller one or the larger one?
We're going to make the small 1.5-inch churn dash
You're
block
scaring
today.
me, Sally. Now, this particular block goes back a long time. We don't really even know how old it is, right?
No, it's a very old traditional block.
Okay, let's get started.
Okay. The first thing I think that you want to think about before you begin is there are some tools that I use. I like to use a stiletto.
Okay, let's explain what that is.
It's rather an extension of my hand and helps me guide my work underneath the needle when I sew.
It's a pointy little needle in a way. Yeah.
Yeah. It really is. It makes a great deal of difference. I also like to use this machine embroidery thread that's 100% cotton, and it's much finer, so it takes up less space in my work, and so it makes for flatter seams. The other thing is I like to use very fine, long pins with glass heads.
Yeah, these are really nice. They're a little
Yes.
expensive, but they're
well worth it.
Well
worth it. And they create little distortion on your work. What you want to do to begin is to have an accurate 1/4 inch seam allowance. So
I know that, Sally. I learned that in your
You remember
class.
that from my class. So I simply take 2 1-inch by 3.5-inch strips of any fabric, and then you want to put them together and sew down the length with the 1/4 inch seam allowance. When you open this unit up and press it, you should now have 1.5 inches from one edge to another. If you do, you continue on. If you don't, you make your adjustment.
You figure it out, and I cannot
Yes.
emphasize how important that is. I mean, even a 1/16 of an inch, it's not going to
Yes,
work.
it absolutely has to be accurate.
Okay, so now we have our 1/4 inch.
And now you're ready to
Get
going.
Yeah.
So what you want to begin to do to make the 4 triangle units in this block is you're going to have 2 1.5-inch squares, one of background and one of block fabric. And you would draw a diagonal line on the lightest one. Then what you're going to do is you would trim this.
You sew it, right?
You would sew
Yeah.
on that line, and then you would trim to about 1/4 inch, and then you would open this up and open the seam.
Just like
so
here.
it would look much like this, and then you would press it and trim the seam again to a nice generous 1/8 of an inch seam allowance.
So you go from 1/4 to 1/8, which means you need some nice scissors too, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, now.
And so that's going to give you an oversized block.
Okay.
That we would now custom cut our 1-inch square from that.
Well, let's do that.
Okay.
Okay. Here, it's yours.
Okay, so I also like to use the small cutter, but what I'm going to do, Alex, is I'm going to keep this 45-degree line on the seam, and I'm going to keep my 1-inch dimension well within the block. And I'm going to hold this down and make a cut up this way, and then up this way.
Okay.
Okay. Then I would turn my mat, and now I'm going to do the same thing, although the 1-inch line now will be exactly on the 2 90-degree edges, and my 45 is on the seam, and I'm going to make my cuts again.
Then you have perfect little half-square triangles.
And so now you've created 4 perfect squares, and you're ready to make the rectangle unit.
Okay, talk about the rectangle unit.
The rectangle unit is a 1-inch strip, about 5 inches long, one of background, one of block. Once you've sewn that down the length and opened the seam and trimmed it, then you're going to custom cut a 1-inch square from this unit as well.
Why don't you just show us, because we're kind of running out of time.
So you're just going to cut a segment, a 1-inch segment, and then trim this segment from the center seam up 1/2 inch and trim, down 1/2 inch and trim, and you end up with a unit that looks like that.
Okay.
And we've already have our 1-inch center square, and now you're ready to construct the block.
And here we sew it in rows.
You would sew it in rows, and then you're going to be pressing row 1 and 3 to the corners, and you're going to press the center row into the center.
Opposite directions.
Yes, so you create opposing seams.
And there you have your little guy, or gal, I don't know which.
Yes, that's the turn dash block.
It really is easy. The key is just one step at a time.
Yes.
If something's not right, stop, fix it, and then proceed, correct?
Absolutely, yes.
Don't go away, because we'll dash our way through the final steps of this block, and we'll look at all of Sally's quilts. We'll see ya.
Information about the products or projects on today's episode is available by visiting our website at hgtv.com or by calling 865-694-7879 Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern. Please note today's episode number.
HGTV invites you to an incredible Saturday night of decorating tips, ideas, and inspiration. This week...
Hi, I'm Joan Steffen, and on the next Decorating Sense, we will take a bland bedroom with no closet space and turn it into a storage-filled, shabby chic haven for under $500.
Then, room by room sparks up a bland room with an explosion of color and pizzazz. A whole night of shows that are just your style. Design Time Saturday night. This Saturday, only on Home and Garden Television.
Lord, I lift your name on high. Lord, I love
Millions have experienced the power.
I will celebrate, sing unto the Lord, sing to the Lord.
Millions have experienced the glory.
Celebrate, Jesus, celebrate.
Presenting Songs for Worship, the best praise and worship songs of all time.
Shout to the Lord on the earth, let us sing. Power and majesty.
You'll hear your favorite Christian artists and worship leaders. Rich Mullins, Twyla Paris, Don Moen, Delirious. Get Songs for Worship on 2 CDs or 2 cassettes for just $12.99. Bring the praise and worship experience into your home.
He has made me glad. Oh, he has made me glad. I will rejoice for him.
These are songs that will last a lifetime. Then audition other praise and worship albums. Satisfaction guaranteed. So call now for Songs for Worship.
To order Songs for Worship, use your credit card and call 1-800-353-4477. That's 1-800-353-4477. Or send $12.99 for 2 CDs or 2 cassettes, plus $3.99 shipping and handling to Songs for Worship, Department 1, Richmond, Virginia, 23280.
We're back with Sally Collins, and we've almost completed our turn dash block. Now for the final pressing. Sally, this really is not hard, is it?
No, it really isn't at all. It just takes time. It's not difficult.
None of this speed sewing and all.
No, it's very focused work. It's not production line kind of work at all.
Here's our little turn dash block. Actually, we're going to look at the right side of it. And we didn't speak to the final pressing. And that's important, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Once you've pressed your rows and joined the rows, Alex, the last 2 seams are going to be pressed into the center. Yes, and what's happening now is these seams on these 2 ends are pressed outward, these are inward. So when you go to assemble the quilt, you would rotate every other one and you'll create opposing seams.
Which is what you want.
Yes, because you'll get great intersections that way.
Now the key to this whole thing, you've summarized it during break. The key to this whole process is what?
It's accuracy, so you must monitor and measure your work as you sew. It's not worth it if you have an error you really need to address it, take it out, and correct it because it accumulates. It doesn't go away.
It doesn't get better, and it
No, it
shows.
doesn't.
I know.
Absolutely.
Let's take a look at the beautiful quilts you've brought today. I just love your quilts. Now, this first one, stepping out, looks like a monster quilt in size.
Well, it is a big quilt for me. It absolutely is a big quilt, but it is a way to incorporate small-scale piecing in larger work. Not everybody wants to do small quilts. And so I appreciate that. So I think it's one way you can incorporate precision sewing into larger quilts.
It's kind of hard to see on, or to really appreciate the size scale on the TV. How big are those little itty-bitty blocks?
The small ones are 1.5 inches, exactly the size of our churn dash.
And then the big blocks
are 6 inches.
6 inches. They look just great together.
Thank you very much.
Let's take a look at your heritage quilt. It's just lovely.
The heritage quilt, I really wanted to do a very classic red and green style of quilt, and so I designed this one. It's very simple in its design. It's all applique, and the flowers are grandmother's flower garden. So I love this quilt, and I've also added trapunto and some fine quilting to it.
Is that embroidery? Is that how you connected the leaves?
Yes, I've embroidered on those.
Do you have one tip for applique when you do small-scale quilts?
I use freezer paper and the glue tube and find it to be the best if you're working in a small scale. It's the only way I do it.
Okay, what about your Santa Fe quilt? This quilt is just exquisite.
Well, the Santa Fe quilt, I love 8-pointed stars, and I like anything that has a 45-degree diamond in it. So these are 3-inch stars, and I've fragmented a simple Lemoyne star from 8 diamonds into 32 diamonds. And then I've increased the size on the side stars. They're half 6-inch.
And really, the neat thing is you've worked through a lot of the problems with these particular stars. You have some neat little tricks under your sleeve on how to do these,
Yes,
don't you?
these are very easy to do. They're not nearly as difficult as you might think.
Let's take a look at shadow baskets. Beautiful quilt.
Thanks very much. And this one was chosen for the cover of my book, and I like baskets and wanted to make a very feminine, pretty quilt. And so I've added swags, and I have 2 baskets, one inside the other. So it has a lot of detail. It has applique. It has piece borders.
Now, how big are those blocks?
The small basket is 1 7/8, and the basket that's on the outside edge of it is about a 3-inch basket.
3-inch basket?
Yes.
Now, the you took the 1 7/8 and you've added a little sashing around it, correct? To make it looks like there's a little sashing added around it. Does that include that measurement?
Well, the large block, it has sashing. It's part of the actual 3-strip
see.
sashing blocks. It looks like it's floating, but it is actually
It's the block.
3-strip
Okay.
sashing.
Okay.
Yes.
That's just a great quilt. And you applique on that one, too.
Yes. I always wanted to do a quilt with swags. This was my chance to do it.
Everybody has a swag quilt
That's
in
right.
them.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, this has been really fun, and truly, Sally, you have made it seem manageable. Seem manageable. I know you're going to call me in a couple weeks and say, okay,
I
now.
want to see your work. That's right.
Have you done it? And I love the churn dash that we did. It's your husband's favorite.
Yes, it is. It's one of his favorites, so I had to include one.
I think that's just great. I want to thank you for coming today. I love your quilts. I love looking at all your quilts, and I'd be hard pressed to pick my favorite.
Well, thanks for having me. I've loved being here.
It's been a lot of fun.
Thanks.
You can find Sally's book at your local book or quilt store. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time on Simply Quilts.
Designing for the sexes helps a couple achieve a defining style in their home makeover. Then Designer's Challenge organizes a living room into a cozy space. It's all part of Design at 9, tonight only on HGTV.
Coming up today on HGTV Daytime. At 9, The Carol Duvall Show